Hello you, welcome to Geekism and welcome to another Planet Zoo video. Today we're taking a deep dive into another gameplay reveal that's headed out of the official Planet Zoo pipes this morning. So I'm a little bit late to the gate with this one, unfortunately. Some of the awesome crazies who are lucky enough to go to Gamescom have had actual playment. Playment? I think I've just made up a word. They've actually played this scenario and have got some footage on their channels of it. So well worth going and checking and doing the rounds to all the usuals to see what it's like. Unfortunately I wasn't at Gamescom, so I am sort of a third party here, but still I know a lot of people come to the channel for their news on Planet Zoo, so I am going to be covering it as best as I can. So this is the official reveal of a new scenario, an Indian subcontinent scenario. It's the 7th one in the career mode, although in this video they do turn off all the career text so as not to sort of spoil the story. Loads of new animals, a whole new scenery system, a couple of little bits of information regarding the career mode, or the franchise mode as they're calling it, that we'll talk about later on. But first of all, let's dive in. New animals. First up, there we go. We'll see better of them later on, but let's just go through them first of all. This is a mandrill. It is a monkey. First monkey we've had in the game, actually. Obviously, there's other primates, lemurs and chimps and orangutans. This is the first actual monkey. It's actually the largest monkey in the world, actually, the mandrill, which is pretty good. And they are probably best known as being the one that holds up baby Simba in The Lion King. That's a mandrill in that. So yeah, really great to see an actual monkey in the game. Really great one to pick as well, as opposed to going something a little bit more basic. These have got really good bright coloured bottoms as well, the males have, so we'll see a little bit more of those later. The next one they showed us is this one here. Very difficult to tell because I think this is either a female or a young one. This is a pronged horn antelope, but there's no horns on this one, but it is a pronged horn antelope. We kind of got a bit of an idea that these were coming with some concept art that we saw previously in one of the videos, but now they have been officially confirmed. Again, we'll see those a little bit later as well. And then another one, this video just actually smashes them out straight away. We have a tapir, or a tapir, or a tapir, or there's lots of different ways you can pronounce it, I think, depending on where you're from in the world. But even still, there they are. It's a Baird's tapir, actually named after Spencer Baird, who was the guy who went over to Mexico and sort of observed them. These are a South American animal, mostly native to Mexico, Central America, or northwestern South America. Very funky little animals, and the babies have really great skin colouring as well. There's also Indian rhino. This has been announced already on IGN, but this is, I think, the first sort of official shot of it. I don't know, a lot of this gets mixed up in my head, but there we go. Indian rhino, looking gorgeous. Love these sort of plates that they have here. And then also, we've got a Bengal tiger there. There's also been a couple of other animals announced through the day from various sources. So there's a Himalayan bear. Unfortunately, I don't have any footage of that one. There's no official footage of him yet for me to use. But looks very similar to the grizzly that we've already got. And then also a couple of terrarium animals. I think there's a new frog, and or it might even be a toad, and there's a new spider, I believe, as well, or a scorpion, I think it is. Sorry, again, it's not official, so I'm not able to sort of grab. I can't really grab footage of other people. You know, they were lucky enough to get to Gamescom, so head over there to see them. Best in Slot, I know, covered it, and obviously a few others as well. Right then, moving into the official gameplay then, and oh my word, look at this. Now, this is something I'm super excited about, a completely new theme. This is the Indian subcontinent theme. It's gorgeous. There is so much to it. This really is, I mean, really stunning. It all looks like it's recolorable. I mean, look there, we've got sort of the same pieces across from each other that are just different colours. All of these different shutters and stuff. Now, this is a typical sort of frontier build. It's really ostentatious and crazy and huge and giant. It doesn't really look like a zoo, to be honest, but, you know, that's the kind of stuff they do and do well. We will obviously be reining it back a little bit on here in this channel and doing some slightly more sort of realistic builds. But even still, a lot of these pieces we're going to be able to use for that and build sort of things like that. And there's one thing I really like about this is they've kind of gone for old meets new. So we've got these sort of old Indian street builds, but then also there's a lot of sort of modern architecture sort of placed throughout them to sort of connect them all up as well. And it's really quite exciting to see. We've got a couple of stores here. Nothing new, I don't think. Let's just roll that back a little. Looks like a Pip Shot Water and a Pizza Pen, I think. Oh no, a Gulpy, sorry. So Pip Shot Water and a Gulpy as energy drink or whatever. So they're fine. ATMs look like they've changed a little though. Here's a great show of some of the new signs that we've got. We've seen these a lot already, but there's some really great looks at these sort of side ones here. Lots of different sort of panels there, moving into animals. So there we have the, I believe that is, yeah, that's the pronghorn. They use the Planko word on the text, which I'm not 100% sure about. I think I'd rather the English there. Here we've got another good shot of the donation bucket. Yeah, it is what it is. Moving on, we can see, look at all this architecture in the background, it looks fantastic. And look at this, oh, I'm so excited. Really nice bright colours. I'm pretty sure all this will be colourable. And again, this sort of mix of modern and old, it's a great design style. They said in the video that one of the concept artists have been working on it, and they've done a supremely good job. I mean, like I say, it's a little bit ostentatious for our tastes, or my tastes at least. But yeah, look at that. It just shows you sort of how much of a scope you've got. Nice, pretty big island there as well. Lots of water. That's good. It's not kind of completely sea that we never quite saw, but still a good sort of expanse of water there. Really excited to move on. The first thing they show then is a few people going for a jog. And that is because the rhinos have escaped. So we see the Indian rhinos here, and they're going to show you sort of how to box them up and send them back. The scenario begins with the rhinos out and about. Love this floor pattern, this pathway, this sort of Indian tile path. It looks fantastic. Those two types of it there, look, and they look gorgeous. Can't wait to be using those on some interiors. So here they're going to box them up, and they're going to show you how a vet manages this. Now, I'm pretty sure we've seen this before. I don't know whether we've seen them actually sort of nuke one, which we're going to see in a moment, but we've definitely seen vets carry the animals around in boxes, but here you'll actually see one come over and with a sort of dart gun. You'll see in the background there, I think, in a second. And the rhino, yeah, there you go, dart gun, poof, taken out. That must be a pretty strong sedative to knock that boy out so quick. And then they sink him and they put him back in. Now, obviously, if you leave them to it, they'll just do the same thing again. So they're going to come in and place a barrier back in. Now, one thing I have noticed here is they're using an electric fence here. Something that's been phased out of most modern zoos, to be honest with you. They do use some hot wire, which is a very light electric wire that runs off certain areas to keep them away. But these sort of big electric fences aren't being used so much anymore, very sparingly. Even for big animals like this, they're coming up with more natural methods for keeping them enclosed. One thing I have noticed is if they do use this electric fence, it's right on the path, so I guess obviously can't bend over and touch it, but if you want to do a realistic build, you're going to need a secondary tier of fencing there, which is obviously something we'll look at. Here they're looking at animal welfare through some of these covers, and we see a few more of them here. So we can see a temperature one. It shows you what they're looking at. Guests there, some guests that are happy and some that aren't. And then also we see the water one later as well. They show us a little bit more about how they're able to clean up water. So moving on through this temple build, they're going to take us over to a second new animal, which I believe is the pronghorn antelope. So again, I can't spot a male anywhere. They show us, I'm pretty sure that one is a baby. That one looks like a female. Very nice, love fuzzy skin, really good. Suits the first shader here suits these ones really well. Yeah, I can't spot a grown-up one anywhere, a male grown-up there anywhere actually to see the horn. Oh, there's a few in the background with some smaller horns, look. But there you go, you get some better shots of them. And they've got lots of enrichment items around as well. Now, I think these ones, they're not happy with the ground covering. So we'll be able to go in there and see. So their welfare is actually pretty good. And this is pretty interesting to me. This means that although habitat is important, it doesn't mean that we have to be 100% with it. And exactly as the game states, because the welfare there, 95% welfare, really quite happy. But as you can see there, their terrain is pretty weak as far as soil grass and long grass is concerned there. And that actually, I'm quite happy with that, because that means certain animals, for instance, the snow leopard, that the game is telling us at the moment that it needs loads of snow, maybe we can get away without the snow as long as all the other options are really high, and we can still get an animal with happy welfare, but we can make realistic exhibits, for instance, that don't, realistic exhibits don't very rarely have snow on the ground. So hopefully we can do that, and in return it'll give us an animal welfare of sort of 80-90%, which is actually quite realistic. A snow leopard in a zoo isn't going to have 100% welfare because it's in a zoo. So actually I think that all works out pretty nice. Here they're showing off the one-way glass again. I've said this a few times now, I'll say it again. One-way glass doesn't work like this. One-way glass doesn't work outside, frankly. It doesn't work in sunlight. It only works when it's placed in between two rooms where the lighting is very specific. The mirror side has to be very bright, and the window side has to be very dark, and it's not this sort of magic fix that you can just place down like that. And also, in zoos, they very rarely use mirrored glass because most animals don't recognise their reflection, and they will think it's another animal and probably get a bit angry about another animal popping their head around the corner all the time. So yeah, I personally probably won't be using the one-way glass very much. Here we move on to these tapirs. These look fantastic. Again, a sort of different style of the fur shader here gives them this sort of slick, oily fur. Excuse me. Excuse me. This oily fur that sits against them. Here, their problem is the food enrichment and the toy enrichment. We can move over there, and they can see that they've got currently no enrichment in the place at all. So they're going to click down here. A couple of things I've noticed about the enrichment items. There doesn't seem to be that many of them. I'm really hoping that we see a larger selection, but there you go, enrichment items. There are currently 8 there, so I'm hoping that these are gated through the scenario, or gated because it's a beta or an alpha, whichever version they're playing here. Yeah, I hope there's a few more of these, because I think they're going to get a little samey if we see the same ones over and over again. But even still, they look really great when the animals are using them. They interact with them really well. Oh, there's a little thing I wanted to point out, sorry, although it's not officially announced yet. On that menu, we did see... let's pop that menu back up again. Come on, come on. Next one, sorry, species. Camel. Backstream camel has been pointed out there, which is fantastic. Nice to see a camel. Rudy's going to be very happy about that. All the other ones we've already seen. So there we go. They click on the tip here now. There's only actually 2 they can use. You see, there's a forage box enrichment. Look at me hovering over them like I can... like I can do anything. And then there's some just regular play enrichments as well, cardboard boxes and stuff. But yeah, a bigger selection of these, I think. Hopefully we'll probably see more of those coming with expansions and updates and DLCs and stuff. Now here, they're putting loads and loads down, but one thing they actually point out is that animals actually get bored of these, so you will need to sort of change them around a little bit. Now, personally, things like this forage box here, I'm probably not going to be so much, but little things, you know, cardboard boxes, beach balls and stuff, that makes sense, you know, they change them out each week or whatever to keep a bit of variation in there, so that's a nice thing that they've added in. So food enrichment there, you can see, is now way higher, and they've got a welfare of 94%. Looking pretty happy as Larry, to be honest. Again, they used these sort of electric fences around the place. They're really quite intense, those. Next thing they're pointing out here is their coverage is quite low for their welfare, which means they've got very little plant coverage. So they're saying 85% on plants, but 0% on coverage. Now, I can't see any plants in there at all, which suggests to me that they don't need any low-lying plants, and they just want some tree coverage. They're being very careful here not to click on continent, because they did that before and showed some maybe continents that we're not meant to see yet. But here they can go in and obviously can place these down depending on where they are. A lot of the trees I have noticed, when you look at their tags, they kind of cover all bases, so a lot of the trees you can use in both Asian and African, and there isn't really much of a problem, which is good. That means you're not really limited to, you know, there's only 3 trees you can use that tapirs like, you know, which obviously was the way in some of the older Zoo Tycoon games. Here we're going to have much more of an option to vary them up a little bit. And there you go, they've got all the planting in. It looks pretty nice. I actually quite like how that one's turned out. I am really excited. These are the sort of animals I love in zoos, these sort of humpy dumpy things that just kind of plod around and stuff. You know, as much as the big ticket items like the savannah animals or the big cats are great, I personally just love the ones that kind of walk around and go, you know. I kind of anthropomorphisize them quite a bit. Next up then is the gharial, which is a fish-eating crocodile. They are found, Wikipedia is not telling me very quickly, they are found on Earth is where they're found. Let me see. Indian. Okay, so it's an Indian animal. That's good. Nice, another varied selection. Nice to see lots of non-savannah animals in this build. Looks great. Skin texture, fantastic. This one's been talked about for quite a while because that skin texture was shown on the background of an image a little while ago. They're using the gharial here to show us that the water's filthy, mucky water, and not only were the animals not like mucky water, the guests won't like it as well, especially if you've got underwater viewing areas where they're not going to be able to actually use. So here you can see on the water layover there, it's all red and manky and nasty. So they're going to place down a water treatment facility. Great thing this. Really glad to see more stuff like this in the game. Planet Coaster was obviously quite low on the actual scenario side of things, on the actual sort of gameplay side of things. So it's really good to see that they've added these in. And it does look as simple as placing it down and working, but you are going to have to think about your layout, especially when you're playing with money. Because you're not just going to want to stick hundreds of these down. You're going to want to get one of them work for multiple ponds and stuff, so you're going to have to work about how you work out your backstage islands and your backstage peninsulas, that kind of thing. Here you'll see the mucky water that they're going to fix by placing down a facility. There you go. So again, only a few of these available at the moment. I'm thinking it's probably because there are going to be more, probably larger sized ones, smaller sized ones, things like that. But again, I don't really know. But you can see they place that down then. They give you a bit of a close-up of that, and all this sort of stuff has to keep away from guests. I don't mind this sort of stuff having to stay away from guests. That makes perfect sense. I'm hoping that things like the food preparing areas and stuff isn't so much detrimental to being near guests, because you know, a lot of zoos, they do sort of show that stuff off now, and they sort of show you how stuff is prepared, and the behind the scenes stuff is actually part of the experience. Here you see the water getting better. They have sped this up. It would take longer in the actual gameplay. And there you've got some lovely clean water for the Gharial. So yeah, interesting to see how food is done. We haven't seen much of that yet. We've seen sort of them go off and chop stuff up and throw it down, but I'm wondering if we have to keep stock of any food, or if we need separate preparing areas for fish or meat, or you know, things like that. Who knows? Here we go, back into the Mandrills then. And they have a really awesome exhibit. I love the idea of using sort of temples for these kind of animals, mandrills, or even like the Bengal tigers and things like that. You know, having sort of like temple ruins that they can potter about. One thing this scenario really does show us quite well is how the animals deal with more sort of angular terrain, which is really quite exciting. You know, because it's not just flat terrain or terrain mounded up and stuff. You know, see there the stairs and stuff, that's all part of their exhibit, and they handle it fine and they have no problems with it being there. It's not like they get disappointed that there's you know, non-natural items there. So it's really exciting to see. It means we're going to be able to do some really fantastic looking exhibits for some of the animals. It's very common to find in zoos now that they use sort of temple ruins, statues, things like that, to kind of break up the nature and you know, give something nice to look at, but also give the animals different spots that they can explore. They're talking here about the climbing, that you can build it all yourself, but if you're a bit more focused on the management and you're not particularly creative, they are going to be providing blueprints, and obviously the workshop will have lots of different blueprints as well that you're going to be able to use. But then they've just placed down a few sort of climbing runs to keep them nice and happy. And then here they've got a really busy indoor area with loads going on, sort of enrichment items and all that sort of stuff. And here you can see them having a bit of a kip. What a gorgeous animal. Like that one. Looking forward to putting them in. Oh, look, people are so happy about seeing them. Ha 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 ha. Now we get a better look at the scenery. This is the stuff that really excites me. I love it. I love this. Look at this. These panels here that go into the wall, spiders and frogs, and these crates. I'm guessing that's all one piece, but even still, it looks amazing. Look at this put here. Tuk, sorry, not put. That was a little video game card. Do you remember that put? I just love put. No, tuk, sorry. These are, and again, all these wall pieces, these shutters here, loads of like fabric pieces as well, which is really quite exciting. I think they show some fabric in a moment. Here, look. Oh, these here. Look at those. These big barriers hanging down here. Posters on the wall. This thing. Oh, look at that peak there. That is exactly what I was trying to replicate in Azori Gardens this last week using billboards, and it did not look that good. So yeah, that sort of stuff is very exciting to see. Wow, and all the sunlight effects as well. Such a big improvement on the engine over Planet Coaster. Absolutely fantastic. And again, very sort of grandiose, very sort of over the top for me personally, but it does show you all the different pieces and what you're actually going to be able to do with them and stuff like that. We're zooming right around now to see the final exhibit that they're going to put together in this scenario, which is the Bengal tiger. Again, suits this kind of theme perfectly. Fits down really well. So they're going to start off with a concrete fence. Now the fencing is a bit more advanced in this build than it was in the Gamescom show floor build. You can see some of the options here. So here's an interesting thing here. You can place down the, I'm just going to pause it here a second, place down the concrete wall, and then they actually go in and replace a couple of these panels with glass wall, which is that one there. But one thing you've noticed here is they've got window as an option as well. So you can have a concrete wall with a window cut out of it, or you can have the whole thing glass. And I like that gives you an option for that. I'm hoping that we can do that with all of these sort of solid walls. We can place windows in them if we want to, because things like wooden walls with windows in is going to be quite common for some of the smaller creatures in the game. Here he comes running along with his Bengal tiger and pops it down off camera, I guess. Can't really see it happening, but that's okay. So yeah, here you wouldn't be very happy with the zoo that just had concrete walls up everywhere. You want to be able to see the animals, so here they replaced them with some glass panels. Nice and high here for the tiger, makes sense. Probably needs to be a little bit higher actually. Need to look into that sort of thing when we come to build ourselves. Whoa, boom, there's a big old box with a Bengal tiger checking out his new habitat. And they placed down some food and water. Again, we've seen all this sort of stuff a few times now. Not many options when it comes to food and water. I think you can they can drink from pools, so we don't necessarily need the water pipes, I don't think, or we might do, but I know they can drink from pools. And obviously those food trays, we're going to be able to use some scenery to kind of cover those up a little bit, make them look a little bit more natural, which will be good. And then the Bengal tiger's happy in his new spot. We're going to have a bit of a kip. So again, they're going to come in here as the Bengal tiger. See, the food, the only food enrichment at the moment they have available is the blood pumpkin, which looks great, but I don't have to put one of these down for every single animal. And also, these are consumable as well, so you're going to have to constantly come down and replace these. I think I'd rather something... maybe the staff can replace those? I'm not sure. We don't know that yet. They have a little pad on the floor, a little silver disc where they go. So I imagine that zookeepers will come and replace those, actually, which probably isn't so bad. But here they go, they come in and get some of this. It's like frozen blood inside a pumpkin. It's pretty gross, but, you know, it's a tiger. And then they can place down a couple of these scratching posts. All cats love scratching posts. I have 2 cats. They're not tigers, but they do love a scratching post. Come up here and have a good scritch. Ooh, scritch and a scratch. There we go. So I'm pretty sure that's all they show us. So they're going to put down a little bit of foliage to kind of fill in the gaps here. It's already got quite a bit, to be honest. And they're just sort of showing you the sort of selection options now. And although they very briefly place a lot of this, I imagine it's all sort of turnable with the X-Scarlet. There you go. They're drinking. Oh no, that was drinking from water pool there. I do think I'd rather them drink from pools if they can. And then they scooch around. We can see a little bit of backstage stuff there, some toilets, and I don't know what's under that next one there. Maybe it was just a tunnel. But yeah, really excited. Not a lovely theme. And this theme is going to be available in the beta as well, which is quite exciting. So you'll be able to play there. Looks good. Right, that's all they showed us. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, you can give us a like. It really does help out the channel. And if you're not already, don't forget to subscribe. We do cover everything Planet Zoo here. Hopefully, everything that comes out now will get with everyone else. Like I say, we were unlucky not to be able to make it to Gamescom, but I think we're back up to speed with everyone now, luckily. So keep it here for all your Planet Zoo news. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.